The church bells tolled, but the bride was gone. I stood in the cramped, dimly lit vestry of St. Mary's, clutching a crumpled note in my trembling hand, Ellie's words, scribbled in haste, begging me to take her place. My sister, my fierce, radiant sister, had vanished hours before her wedding, leaving Meher twin brother. Elito faced the altar and her groom, Caleb, in her stead. I stared at my reflection in the cracked mirror, the white lace of Ellie's wedding dress clinging to my frame like a lie. My dark hair, usually messy and untamed, was tucked beneath a delicate veil, and my hazel eyes burned with a mix of dread and determination. I wasn't her. I could never be her. But the note in my pocket felt heavier than the gown, its words searing into my mind. Eli, I can't do this. Please, save me. Be me. Just for today. No explanation. No reason, just a plea I couldn't ignore. Caleb was waiting. The man Ellie was supposed to marry. The man I'd secretly loved for years. Stood at the altar, unaware of the switch. My heart pounded as I adjusted the veil, the fabric brushing against my skin like a whisper of betrayal. We'd grown up together in this small Virginia town alley. Caleb and Methry kids chasing fireflies in the fields, sharing secrets under the stars. But my secret was one I'd never dared speak. Every time Caleb's green eyes met mine, my world tilted, and I drowned in a longing I buried deep. Now, I was about to face him, dressed as his bride, carrying the weight of my sister's disappearance and my own forbidden feelings. The organ began its somber hymn, and the vestry door creaked open. "Miss Ellie, it's time," the pastor's assistant said, her voice soft but urgent. I swallowed hard, my throat tight, and stepped into the aisle. The church was a blur of faces, friends, family, neighbors, all expecting Ellie's radiant smile. Instead, they got me, a fraud in satin, my steps unsteady as I approached Caleb. He stood tall, his broad shoulders filling out his black suit, his expression a mix of anticipation and something else, worry. Maybe. Did he sense something was wrong? "Ellie," he whispered as I reached him, his voice low and warm, sending a shiver down my spine. I couldn't speak, couldn't trust my voice to sound like hers. I just nodded, the veil hiding my face, my heart hammering so loud I was sure he'd hear it. His hand brushed mine as he took it, and for a moment, I forgot the charade. His touch was gentle, grounding, and I wanted to melt into it, to tell him everything, Ellie's note, my fear, my love. But I couldn't. Not yet. The ceremony began, and I stood frozen, reciting vows in a voice I hoped sounded like Ellie's. Each word felt like a betrayal, not just to Caleb, but to myself. I wasn't just lying about being the bride. I was lying about who I was, who I'd always been. Growing up in this town, I'd learned early to hide my truth. Being gay in a place like this was a quiet kind of exile's miles that didn't reach eyes. Whispers behind hands. Ellie knew. Of course. She'd held me when I cried after my first crush laughed in my face. She'd promised to protect me. Always. So why had she left me here? In her dress, facing the man we both loved in different ways. As the pastor droned on, my mind raced. Where was Ellie? Her note had been frantic, scrawled on a torn piece of her wedding stationery. She'd been acting strange for weeks, distant, nervous, jumping at shadows. I'd chalked it up to wedding jitters. But now I wasn't sure. Had she run from Caleb? From the life she was supposed to start? Or was it something darker? I glanced at Caleb, his jaw tight, his eyes scanning my face through the veil. Did he know? Could he tell I wasn't her? The ring slid onto my finger, cold and heavy. Caleb's hands were steady, but his gaze lingered, searching. I do, I whispered, my voice barely audible, and the words felt like they belonged to someone else. The church erupted in applause, but it sounded distant, like a storm approaching. I was married to Caleb now, Ellie was. The line between us blurred, and I felt like I was drowning. After the ceremony, we were swept into the reception at the old community hall, fairy lights twinkling above tables laden with flowers and cake. I kept the veil on, claiming tradition. But really, I was terrified of being found out. Caleb stayed close, his presence both a comfort and a torment. You're quiet today, he said, leaning in as we danced, his breath warm against my ear. Everything okay, Ellie? I forced a smile, my lips trembling. Just nervous, I managed, pitching my voice higher. His hand tightened on my waist, and I wondered if he could feel my heart racing. You don't have to be, he said softly. I'm here. Always. His words were meant for Ellie, but they pierced me, sharp and sweet, and I hated myself for wanting them to be mine. As the night wore on, I slipped away to the bathroom, needing a moment to breathe. I locked the door and tore off the veil, staring at my reflection. Eli, not Ellie. A man in a dress, playing a part. My phone buzzed in the hidden pocket of the gown, a text from an unknown number. Don't tell Caleb. Meet me at the old oak by the river. Midnight. My blood ran cold. Was it Ellie? Or someone else? I glanced at the clock, 11:30 p.m. I had to go. I had to find her. I slipped out of the hall, the cool night air hitting my face as I ran toward the river, the dress catching on branches. The old oak loomed ahead, its gnarled branches stark against the moonlit sky. A figure stood beneath it, shadowed and still. Ellie. I called, my voice breaking. The figure turned, and my heart stopped. It wasn't my sister. It was Jamie, Ellie's best friend, her face pale and streaked with tears. Eli, she whispered, stepping into the moonlight. Her eyes widened as she took in the dress, the veil clutched in my hand. What the hell is going on? Where's Ellie? I demanded, my voice sharp with panic. Jamie shook her head, her hands trembling as she pulled a folded letter from her jacket. She gave me this yesterday. Told me to give it to you if she didn't show up. My hands shook as I took the letter, the paper worn and soft, like it had been folded and unfolded 100 times. Eli, I'm sorry. I had to leave. It's not about Caleb, it's about me. Don't hate me. Don't look for me. The words blurred as tears stung my eyes. This wasn't an answer, it was another question. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I snapped, my voice breaking. Jamie flinched. She made me promise. Eli. She was scared. Said someone was watching her, threatening her. I thought she was just stressed. But her voice trailed off, and she looked away, guilt etched into her features. I should have done something. I wanted to scream, to shake her, but the weight of the dress and the ring on my finger anchored me to the moment. Who was threatening her? I asked, my voice low. Urgent. Jamie hesitated, then whispered. She wouldn't say. But she mentioned a name, Marcus. Said he knew something about her. Something she couldn't let Caleb find out. Marcus. The name hit me like a punch. Marcus Reed. Caleb's older cousin. A man with a smile like a blade and eyes that saw too much. He'd always been around, lingering at family gatherings, his gaze sharp and calculating. Ellie had never liked him, always changing the subject when his name came up. Had he driven her away? And why? I stuffed the letter into my pocket and turned back toward the reception, my mind racing. Go home, Jamie, I said, my voice colder than I meant. Don't tell anyone you saw me. She nodded, tears spilling over, and disappeared into the night. I had to find Caleb, to figure out what Marcus knew. But first, I had to keep up the charade. The dress felt tighter now, the lace scratching my skin like a warning. Back at the hall, Caleb was waiting, his expression unreadable. Where'd you go? He asked, his voice gentle but edged with concern. I forced a smile, adjusting the veil back over my face. Just needed air. I lied, my heart twisting. He studied me, his green eyes piercing, and for a moment, I thought he saw through me. But then he smiled, soft and warm, and pulled me into another dance. As we moved, I scanned the room for Marcus. He was there, in the corner, sipping whiskey and watching us with a smirk that made my skin crawl. I leaned closer to Caleb, my lips brushing his ear. Can we talk somewhere private? I whispered, my voice trembling. He nodded, leading me outside to the quiet garden behind the hall, where fireflies danced in the dark. Ellie, what's wrong? He asked, his hands cupping my face through the veil. I wanted to rip it off, to tell him everything, but fear held me back. Instead, I asked, do you trust Marcus? His brow furrowed, surprise flickering in his eyes. My cousin. He's family. Why? I hesitated, choosing my words carefully. Ellie, I mean, I heard something. About him. Something bad. My slip-up was small, but Caleb's eyes narrowed, and I cursed myself silently. What did you hear? He pressed, his voice low. I couldn't tell him the truth, not yet. Just be careful, I said, my voice barely a whisper. He pulled me closer, his arms strong and warm, and I let myself lean into him, just for a moment. I'll always protect you, he murmured, and my heart ached with the weight of my deception. I wanted to believe him, to trust that he'd stand by maybe Eli, not just believe he knew the truth. But the letter in my pocket burned, a reminder that my sister was out there, alone, and I was running out of time to find her. The next morning, I woke in the guest room of Caleb's family home, still in the dress, the veil draped over a chair like a ghost. Caleb had insisted I stay, saying it was tradition for the bride and groom to spend their first night under the same roof. I'd barely slept, my mind spinning with questions. Who was Marcus to Ellie? What did he know? And why had she run? I slipped out before dawn, borrowing one of Ellie's coats to cover the dress, and drove to her apartment across town. The place was a mess, drawers yanked open, clothes strewn across the floor. Someone had been here, looking for something. I found a locked box under her bed, the kind she used to hide her diary as a kid. My hands shook as I pried it open, revealing a stack of photos and a USB drive. The photos showed Ellie and Marcus arguing in a parking lot, his face twisted with anger. The USB drive was labeled Truth. I plugged it into her laptop, my heart pounding. A video loaded, a grainy clip of Ellie, her voice shaking as she spoke to the camera. If you're watching this, I'm probably gone. Marcus knows. He's been blackmailing me for months. I thought I could handle it, but I can't. Eli, if you find this, tell Caleb I'm sorry. I love him, but I can't marry him. Not like this. The screen went black, and I sat there, frozen, as the weight of her words sank in. Blackmail. Marcus. And a secret big enough to make her run. I needed answers, and I needed them now. Clutching the USB drive, I drove to the only place I could think of, Marcus's auto shop on the edge of town. The sun was barely up, casting long shadows over the gravel lot as I parked. My hands shook as I tucked the veil into Ellie's coat, the wedding dress hidden beneath. I wasn't sure what I'd say, but I couldn't keep pretending. Ellie was out there, and Marcus was the key. The shop was quiet, the air thick with the smell of oil and metal. Marcus emerged from the back, wiping his hands on a rag, his smirk as sharp as ever. Ellie, he drawled, his eyes raking over me. Didn't expect to see you so soon. I'm not Ellie, I said, my voice steady despite the fear clawing at my chest. I pulled off the coat, revealing the dress, and his smirk faltered. Eli, he said, his tone shifting to something colder. What the hell are you doing? Where's my sister? I demanded, holding up the USB drive. She left this. Said you were blackmailing her. What did you do to her? His eyes darkened, and he stepped closer, his voice low. You don't want to play this game, kid. Walk away. I stood my ground, my heart pounding. Tell me, or I go to the police. It was a bluff. I had no proof. Just a video and a hunch, but it worked. Marcus's jaw tightened, and he gestured to a back room. Fine. Let's talk. The room was cluttered, papers strewn across a desk. He shut the door behind us, his expression unreadable. Ellie got in over her head, he said, leaning against the desk. Found out something she shouldn't have about me. About my business. I told her to keep quiet, or I'd tell Caleb her secret. What secret? I pressed, my voice shaking. Marcus laughed. A harsh, bitter sound. You really don't know. Your sister's been lying to everyone. She's not the perfect girl Caleb thinks she is. She's been seeing someone else, some woman from Richmond. Didn't want Caleb to know she's bi. Didn't want this town to know. My breath caught. Ellie. Bi? She'd never told me. Never hinted. But the pieces fit her secrecy. Her fear. She'd been hiding. Just like I had. So you blackmailed her, I said, my voice low. Threatened to out her unless she did what? Paid you. Left. Marcus shrugged. She chose to run. I didn't make her. His nonchalance made my blood boil. But before I could speak, the door burst open. Caleb stood there, his face a storm of anger and confusion. What the hell is going on? He demanded, his eyes flicking from me to Marcus. Eli, why are you? He trailed off, taking in the dress, the veil, the truth dawning in his eyes. Caleb, I started, my voice breaking. But he held up a hand, his gaze fixed on Marcus. You knew, he said, his voice deadly quiet. You knew Ellie was gone. And you let me marry. He stopped, looking at me, his expression softening. Eli, why didn't you tell me? Tears spilled down my cheeks as I pulled the veil off completely, letting it fall to the floor. I didn't know how, I said. She left a note, begged me to take her place. I was trying to protect her, to find her. I handed him the USB drive, my hands trembling. She's out there. Caleb. Marcus scared her away. Caleb's face hardened as he turned to Marcus. What did you do? He growled. Marcus raised his hands, backing away. I didn't touch her. Man. She left on her own. But Caleb wasn't listening. He grabbed Marcus by the collar, shoving him against the wall. Tell me where she is, or I swear. Stop, I shouted, stepping between them. Caleb, we need to find her. Fighting won't help. He let go, his chest heaving, and looked at me, his eyes raw with pain. You should have told me, he said softly. I would have helped you. I know, I whispered, my voice thick with regret. I was scared. For her. For me. I hesitated, then let the truth spill out. I've loved you for years. Caleb. I didn't want to lose you, too. The silence that followed was deafening. Caleb stared at me, his expression unreadable. And for a moment, I thought I'd ruined everything. But then he stepped closer, his hand brushing my cheek, gentle and sure. Eli, he said, his voice low. I don't know what I feel right now, but I know I don't want to lose you, either. We left Marcus's shop together, the USB drive in Caleb's pocket, a fragile truce between us. We spent the next week searching for Ellie, following leads from her friends, her co-workers, anyone who might know where she'd gone. Every dead end hurt, but Caleb's presence kept me grounded. We talked for the first time in years. About Ellie. About us. About the secrets we'd both kept. I told him about my fear, my shame, my love. He listened, his hand finding mine, his touch a quiet promise. One night, as we sat by the river under the old oak, a call came. It was Ellie, her voice shaky but alive. She was in Richmond, safe, with the woman she loved. I'm sorry, Eli, she said, tears in her voice. I couldn't face the town, the wedding, the lies. I should have told you. You're safe, I said, relief flooding me. That's all that matters. Caleb took the phone, his voice steady as he told her to come home when she was ready. When he hung up, he looked at me, his eyes soft in the moonlight. You're not her, he said, a small smile tugging at his lips. But you're you. And that's enough. We didn't have all the answers. Marcus faced charges for blackmail, but the scars he'd left would take time to heal. Ellie would come back, eventually, and we'd rebuild our family, piece by piece. But as Caleb's hand found mine again, I felt something Newa hope I'd never dared to hold. Love wasn't a dress or a vow or a secret to keep. It was this, two people, broken but brave, choosing each other under the stars.